So we're going to get started. So thank you all for being here. This is the Math Together show. And today we're going to talk about maybe how we're all feeling as we think about the fall. So maybe you're feeling overwhelmed as you think about getting ready for the fall, or maybe you're unsure how to hold on to quality math instruction in our new normal. So what we're going to do today with our wonderful educators that have joined us is answer those questions. And so we're going to be modeling that discussion, and we're going to provide a resource to help other people go forward and have that discussion. So that is our plan today. So welcome to the Math Together show, a show for thoughtful math educators. And I am Sue Looney.
And I am Molly Vokey.
And I'm Heidi Subnani. And we have some educators here that are joining us, and we're so thankful for them that they are giving of their time and expertise and willing to have this conversation with us today. And we would like to have them introduce themselves, say where they're from, and what role they currently have. So Annalise, why don't you just start first?
Sure. So I'm Annalise Record, and I live in Concord, New Hampshire, and I am an elementary math specialist, and I'm a consultant. So I was traveling around a lot, working in schools, and now I'm not. So I'm adjusting to this online kind of format. So yeah, adjustment.
Well, thank you for being here, Ellen.
I'm Ellen Martin. I am currently the assistant superintendent in Marshfield, Massachusetts, and that is where I live as well.
Kristen.
Good afternoon. I don't even know what time of day it is. I am Kristen Bertheo, and I'm in Massachusetts. I'm a former fourth grade teacher and currently a consultant.
And Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barb Fukushima. I am a kindergarten teacher in Shutesbury, Massachusetts and Western Mass.
Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Ottaviani. I am the math coordinator, K through 12 for Randolph Public Schools.
Excellent. We're so thankful that everyone is here. And if you're joining us on Facebook Live, we are going to be monitoring that as well. So feel free to give us a comment. Let us know where you are from and what your current role is as we begin to discuss this really pertinent topic to what we're all dealing with right now as educators. So let us know there. We're really excited to be hosting our second show, and we're going to be revealing a little bit more later on in this broadcast about our new membership opportunity to join Math Together. And Molly is going to talk about an exciting part of that.
Yes, we have a raffle today, and our raffle prize is awesome. It is a 1 free month membership to Math Together, which is launching on June 1st. For everybody who wants to try Math Together out, they get 1 month free. But in addition to that, if you win this raffle, you'll get a second month free. And we will choose the winner on Monday. We're hoping that more people will be able to tune into us this weekend. And so on Monday, we'll choose the winner. And we also would like to just say, if you have an aha moment while we're talking today, we expect with this excellent panel of teachers and educators that we are going to have some aha moments. If you have an aha moment today, just type in the comments #aha and then whatever your aha is about, and that will get you into the raffle. And the more times you do that, the more chances you have to win.
And if you're not watching live, you can still put that in the comments, because we're going to leave this open until Monday. And like Molly said, we're not limiting you on how many times you can have aha moments, because that's the point of all of it, right?
Yeah. We want lots of ahas.
There we go. There we go.
Excellent. So we have Lynn joining us from Weymouth. She's a fourth grade teacher, and Tara as well. So we're really happy to have you here with us live. So we're going to dive right into this. And we're going to be talking a little bit in the beginning and having a discussion here as a panel, and then pulling in those of you from Facebook Live as well, about what aspects of the math classroom do we think are most important that we don't want to lose even in our current situation. So as we're remote teaching now, and we don't know exactly what the fall is going to look like, what pieces do we want to make sure we're keeping even though we're not in a traditional classroom? So we're going to kind of blurt all these out. So the first thing that comes to your mind right now, what is the thing that you want to keep in your math class?
And I've put the question on the Facebook page too, if people want to reread it, but I think we can all take turns. So, I'll start. What I want to make sure not to let go of, and I think this will resonate because I know all of you personally on this call, and I think anyone watching that's a thoughtful educator will feel the same way, is the relational aspect. That when we are able to build trust and relationship with our students, then we're able to go deeper with the mathematics and push more in terms of rigor of the academics that we're working on. So I want to figure out how to hold on to that relational aspect.
Okay, excellent. Laura, what are you thinking is something that we want to keep from what we currently have?
I think the student-to-student discourse, we've been really trying to get different ideas in our district about that, of how we do it through Zooms. And I think teachers are doing a great job already, but how to kind of incorporate more of that.
Yeah. Barbara, how about you? I think you have one of the most difficult jobs doing this remotely as a kindergarten teacher. What are your thoughts?
I think definitely both of those two things that people have already touched on. I guess one of the relationship building is really big, and I think it's one of my biggest struggles is thinking about how to start this with a new group of kids in the fall, because we've already built those relationships with students now. So I'm really interested about how to build those relationships if we're actually not in buildings with kids. And I guess for me, just to know that there's regular opportunities for kids to be involved in math and really educating parents and what math could look like at home.
Yeah, really great points there. Kristen, how about you?
So I'm thinking about the role as a teacher and how on March 13th, the world stopped spinning and everyone was sent home to figure out how to do this at home. And everyone's figured it out in different ways. So I'm hoping that with some of that growth mindset, like, you know, you might have, if we had been forced to plan ahead, it may have looked different, but not being able to plan ahead and kind of planning as you're going and then looking and, oh, this is really working out, and allowing ourselves to be a little bit vulnerable and try new things. We were forced to try new things and it's working out. So I'm hoping that, you know, in the fall and moving forward, teachers have learned, oh, I figured this out and it worked. So let me try some new ways in the math class also.
I love that. I just feel like teachers, you know, prior to this get stuck into a routine, and there's never really a reason to force themselves out of their routine necessarily. So this was no joke. You had to figure it out.
Right. Everyone was forced to step out of their comfort zone. And I know, you know, it looks different for different teachers and different school systems, but hopefully they'll take that as a success and say, oh, I was able to do this. Let me try something else.
Love it.
Annalise?
So I think about the parents and having the parents really involved with the education of their kids. You know, for so long, parents have not understood why we were teaching the way we were teaching. And as much as that keeps me up at night thinking about now, a lot of parents are going back to only the ways that they knew. It's an opportunity for us to educate the parents because they're so actively involved with the kids. It's an opportunity for us to really enlighten the parents of why we're doing it in this way and how it makes it easier. And I want to continue that journey in helping them learn, have them really be a part of this with us, with our kids.
And Elise, that's interesting that you say that, because I was talking with a teacher that I was working with the other day about planning for summer, and we were talking about what are some of the things that we like, so teacher leaders in the math department in the elementary school, and you know, what are some things we'd like to do over the summer to be proactive for next year. And one of the things that came up was parents and parent outreach, and maybe putting together some video clips, short video clips that show, what is a number talk? Why do we not use paper during a number talk? Why, you know, those types of things. And it really kind of got me thinking in a totally different direction than I normally go with teachers. So I can appreciate that.
Ellen, how about you? What are you hoping that we will continue to have?
I think mine kind of builds off of Sue's and Annalise, because I think that relationship relationship with students, between the student and their teacher, is so important. But that, I think, is an opportunity where the live video or even a video screencast of a teacher, rather than pointing them to an outside kind of video showing them how to do it,
Thumbs up on that.
let's have the teachers actually do the screencast. We are finding that's probably the most successful piece of the remote learning, is when the teachers are still teaching. They still have the mini lesson. And I think, building on Annalise, that's another opportunity, as Molly chimed in too, to reach the parents. If we can have the teachers doing kind of videos teaching the parents at the same time, again, I think that's a great opportunity if that's what we're forced to do this fall.
I love that. It's really brought up a lot of opportunity that otherwise may have not happened, I think.
I was speaking with a teacher the other day who has been teaching for a very long time. She's actually somewhere in her 70s still teaching. And she got on that journey of figuring out remote learning and technology like it was nobody's business. And she told me that she does those personal videos, like you're speaking of, Ellen, in her classroom, because she said, my students don't just miss me, they miss their space. And so she lives walkable to her school, and she walks there every day, and her aide comes in and they're masked and they're from a distance, and they film her speaking those videos in the school. I don't know what'll be possible as far as access, and this is a private school situation and there's not a lot of players, but it speaks to the importance of that video.
Absolutely. So, and those on Facebook, if you have some suggestions here of things you'd like to keep, let us know as well. So in thinking about, we're about ready to move into our next section, but as we're doing that, we want to also think about the routines that we have with our students around number sense. How have those been impacted, and how might we continue that work as we are back in the classroom, have a hybrid situation, or continue online? And so that's that next piece that we're going to get into right now.
Yes, so we are interested in really talking about the routines that we love, that are beneficial for students, and that are hopefully we'll be able to incorporate into our teaching next year. So let's start by just talking about what are some of the routines that we'd like to be able to use with students that may or may not be great remotely, but we'll do a sorting situation after this. Anybody have some ideas on routines that are great for kids?
My favorite is number talks.
I'm with you.
And number strings, both, to encourage lots of flexible strategy, but also to show relationships among one strategy between different sets of numbers. That's my favorite.
Lauren from Taunton is saying as well that she hopes to be able to continue with math games, either in a virtual space or live in person, and that's something to consider as well with social distancing, how we keep the math game part for working on fluency happening.
I think we've got to find a way to show different student strategies. So I think we've got to have a situation where we're doing problem solving, and then we're able to showcase different students' approaches to problem solving. So how do we build that work in?
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have a routine or a practice that they feel strongly should be happening?
From Dr. Nikki Newton's daily thinking routines, I pulled some of those and brought it to a kind of voluntary PD for my teachers. And some of them came up with some great ideas of how to do it virtually as well. Like over, under, and the same, of how we can do it, face-to-face live with the students, and disappearing Dan, kind of those ideas. So I think those daily thinking routines would be helpful as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of love for the number talks and number strings.
Yeah, I number talks are my favorite. I worked so much on number talks this year, and when my teachers that I was working with in Clinton, when we had to do this, they were like, I'm trying to do a number talk, but the kids can't pay attention and the parents are giving them paper. And so there were a lot of struggles around how to do it remotely. And when they discovered the whiteboard, they were super excited about being able to execute those. Sue, what do you think? Should we start?
We can. I was just kind of going to summarize. So what I heard mentioned was an emphasis on number talks, relationships, bringing people together, looping the parents in. I heard growth mindset. I brought up the idea of strategic thinking, games, because what we're going to do in a minute is sort. We're going to start sorting those activities. Where can they best happen? Did I forget anything? Barbara, did you want to say something?
Well, I just want to add one thing, especially for younger kids in kindergarten, is that, we do so much exploration of materials at the beginning of the year, free exploration, and how to think about how that works either remotely or in school when you're not supposed to be more than 6 feet from somebody, how it works, and sharing of ideas.
Right. So using concrete materials. So that's another thing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and share the screen. So our faces are going to kind of move to the side for a little bit, and we're going to do an activity, but there's a lot more to say here. And while we're modeling a conversation, there are lots of moments where you all said things or I wanted to say, well, tell me more about that, right? So if we had the full hour, which is what I think everyone needs to be doing, is just all of this outpouring of sharing of ideas. So I do feel like this conversation could continue, but we're going to put up a document and I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And we're going to use this document to run through an exercise that also could be done in districts. So Molly, I think you were going to start having conversation about using the diagram.
Yes, so I don't know about you, but using a Venn diagram with geometry was truly one of my favorite things to do with kids. It's such a nice visual for kids to be able to make comparisons. So we decided to use this model to help us kind of decide what are the things that we'd like to continue with that we can do in the classroom. What are the things that we can do from a distance? And then what are some things that might fall in the middle where you could either do them from home or in the classroom? So maybe we can start with number talks, since that was one of the first things that came up. And how are people feeling about number talks? Where should we put that?
So I think we decided that could go in the middle because we have people doing number talks now in various different ways from a distance. And Laura, I wonder, you were talking about your teachers doing a good job getting the students to talk to one another. Would you mind saying a little bit about how they're accomplishing that?
So I know some of them if they have another, like a co-teacher with them, have been doing some breakout rooms that they separate and then coming back together to share their ideas. So it's a smaller group to be able to have, more students have a voice versus keeping it as a larger group. So that's one strategy.
I was trying to make it bigger. That's not going to happen. So there it is. Okay. Something else that we want to hold on to, and where might we place it? Do you want to suggest a different topic to add on there, Heidi?
So I'm thinking about how we use manipulatives and hands-on materials for kids. So I know that in some cases we might have a virtual option, but I'm thinking, Barbara, for your really young children, how might that work? And is that going to be enough? Can you share a little bit with us about that?
Sure. I think one thing I had shared last week is that my school is, we were thinking about if we were not going to be in the building, we're already planning to make up bags for kids to take home. So they'll have things at home in case we're not at school. So manipulatives and cards and dice and things that we would have in the classroom.
So Barbara, just curious, because I think this is going to be an issue for many districts. Do you have enough so that they can take some home and have some at school?
We put an order in with our principal, and she's trying to see if she has money to get things, so we'll have enough to be in both places.
Yeah.
Got it.
So maybe that can move to the middle as long as we can get those at-home materials.
Yeah.
So I know my sister is involved in delivering those kinds of packets of materials to students. In fact, today she was out delivering at-home packs of manipulatives.
Yeah. And as far as face-to-face, I mean, certainly there's enough for kids to have their own sets of things, but part of the fun and discovery is working with peers. So I'm not quite sure how that will work face-to-face. There's definitely, kids can have stuff on their own, but not the sharing.
Yeah, I'm wondering too that, like, technically you need twice as many, right? So if each kid has their own set at home and then you only have half the kids in school at the same time, do they have their own set at school as well? Or do you have to wash them every day or sterilize them?
So I think they're going to have their own set at school as well. And I think the health professionals are going to dictate that information for us.
I think you're right.
What about when I was first teaching, we had no budget really to spend at all, and I was sure that I was going to use manipulatives, and so I was cutting them. I was teaching 5th grade, and I was doing fractions, and every student had their own set of fraction strips, and they created them, which provided tremendous value. So I actually did do a lot of self kits just because of the way my classroom was set up in the early 90s. That's what we did. So I wonder if we have to have things that we're making, and that would be good to know in advance, because you might be making individual manipulative kits over the summer.
Yeah.
So I think that arrow, Heidi, you're indicating that goes in the center, or?
It won't let me move it currently. I'm having
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha.
Another one of my favorite things too, when I think of manipulatives and hands-on things, is counting collections.
Yes.
And having students organize it in a way that makes sense for them to efficiently figure out how many are there. So when I think of them doing that at school, typically teachers have the baggies with the different kinds of things, but they're unlimited at their homes.
Love that.
If they find any kind of thing around their house that they can count, and then they're organizing it, take a picture of it, it's opening that door to still getting their hands on stuff, and they're constructing their own understanding of place value in ways, in groupings that make sense for them.
Great.
Annalise, that's so true, and it's not just for the younger kids, right? This can go straight up to even really 3rd grade, when kids are still working on place value.
And also multiplication, because you can get the equal size groups. So a 3rd grade teacher friend of mine, Kathy Palkovic, she had her kids doing them all year long, once a week. And February vacation, day before that, her kids figured out how many cards were donated to them by the local casino. And there were 898 decks of cards, and they figured out how many cards that was. So it's not limited to just putting them in piles of 5s and 10s. Like, it goes way up. And in fact, one of her students was loving it so much, she went to Home Depot with her dad, and they were going down aisles and figuring out collections of items.
I love that. I love that.
Right?
Home Depot is a big place to visit right now, given that it's only one of the few places you can go.
Right, right.
What about our strategic thinking and sharing different strategies? That can happen. Can that happen from a distance, face-to-face, both?
I feel both, depending. I mean, tell me what you think, especially Barbara, because of your kindergarten, but I think both. What I've been finding with even my 1st and 2nd grade teachers, that their students, when they're on a call, a Zoom call, or whatever form they use, they are able to use the comment box or the chat box. And with some training, teachers are finding it to be really useful, at least the teachers that I've been working with.
And we're getting, oh, sorry. Garrett online is also mentioning, you know, being really judicious in what manipulatives we pick. Is there a particular manipulative that can work for multiple content, you know, branches of mathematics versus something that's very specific for one? And I think that's a really important key as we're thinking about this going forward.
I love that. Barbara, were you also gonna answer that question? I feel like you were maybe starting to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, I feel like one of my most successful things that I've done through this remote learning is having number talks with my students. I've done it in larger groups and smaller groups. Kids have been able to share their math thinking. And I've been using Jamboards, which I have found is really an easy way to do it, at least for younger kids and smaller numbers of things. And kids are getting really good at turning their mics on and off. They can't type into the chat, but they've been really good at sharing their strategies that way.
Great.
So that's been something that we've been able to kind of keep up with.
Excellent.
That is excellent.
So I think we're coming to the end of our time here.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really fascinating, and this was not anticipated on my part, was in doing this exercise, there are suddenly things that actually might work really, really well at home given our circumstances. So when we think about games and we think about manipulatives and we think about counting objects, those might shift to home and we would have parents involved in this real conceptually based hands-on kind of learning, as opposed to sending, you know, typical paper pencil tasks home. Might actually really have a lot of that hands-on stuff happening home because it might be safer. But this conversation is clearly not over, and so I hope everybody found it useful. I don't know if anyone wants to add one more thing before we switch gears.
So we're getting something from Facebook. Heather is saying that using Google Forms for number talks, which I have not done. I think that might be a great idea. And use the short answer box there, so then you can see the responses of all the students.
Nice.
Yeah, so that works for her because her students are grades 3 to 5. So I can see how that would be really beneficial for her.
Yeah, so I think starting in grades 3 and up, you know, even in middle school, Molly and I work with a lot of middle school students and teachers, and that's another, you know, it's a great opportunity to continue that learning there. And then we're also having, Garrett's mentioning using estimistries as well, which is another great tool for that online, thinking about how we could maybe move some of those things into a hybrid situation. I think would be really, really nice.
Yeah, a lot of the Steve Wyborny stuff is really well done because of the PowerPoint situations to be used for distance learning. But I'm wondering how some of that stuff would work. I know we're trying to shut this down, but just another question. If the teacher is teaching at school and the kids are at home and it's not face-to-face, then that's a whole nother ballgame, I think.
Yeah. So think ways of sharing that information forward. Maybe we're making a collaborative PowerPoint of ideas. Maybe we're taking pictures of our work, typing in a Google Classroom. Young kids can voice record. You know, again, this raises a question I think we're going to try to tackle next week a little bit about equity. But if we're in a situation where you can grab someone else's phone and record yourself talking, I'm sure young children love to grab the phone and do that. So this is an exercise that can help us get ready. And as we I think our planning really needs to think across the week. Like, this is what I want to be teaching. How am I going to decide what forum it's best served in? And so I think there's lots more conversation to have here.
I love that there's so much here in the distance side, and it makes it look more possible than, you know, at first you might think, oh, we can only do this face to face, but look, we have so much in the distance and in the middle that makes it look much more doable.
Right. Awesome. Okay. This is a PDF. were you going to talk about the PDF, Heidi?
Yes. So we are going to make sure that we, in the chat box here, we have the opportunity to download the PDF of this particular graphic and some questions that might help you have this conversation with teachers in your building or your colleagues so that you can really facilitate that conversation going forward. I'm going to be posting it in the Facebook chat here as well. So if you would like to download that from there, we would love to have you do that, and let us know how you are facilitating this conversation with your colleagues in your buildings so that we can share that collective knowledge. I think that'll be really important for us going forward.
Okay, great. So that link's going to be in the comment box on Facebook.
Yep.
Excellent.
Just
Okay.
went in right now.
Okay. Well, so I have the pleasure then of sort of pulling this together and talking about our math together. So I am super excited, and we're going to give you a sneak peek today. So before I do that, thank you so much to the educators that chimed in and shared your expertise. So you're in the front lines and we're in a supportive role. So we so appreciate everything you're doing, and we want to keep hearing from you. And also on Facebook, keep the conversation going. So the Math Together learning community is something that we have been, I want to say, working almost 24/7, but there's a little bit of sleeping in there. But we have been so impacted, like everybody else, by our current situation of not being together. It's almost like this overwhelming grief. We just need to be together. And so we've designed a new opportunity to be together called Math Together. And we are really trying to revolutionize how professional development happens. So we are trying to recreate the professional development experience so that it's at your fingertips. It is interactive. It's highly sociable. And it's portable. You can carry it around with you. So we are designing this, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek by sharing my screen. And we are literally still in design phase. So you're going to see what my screen looks like. But here's what it looks like. And so it is an app. So it is on your computer, but it's also an app. So you can literally walk around with this in your pocket, and you can see, like over here, I pick what I want to do. I pick and choose. So I'm in charge, but it's highly social. And you choose where you want to go, and there's more. I could keep scrolling. What I want to highlight for today is this here, the topic. So we have these 4 pillars that this is all sitting on, and it's all about just together, right? Like we are all better together. We need one another, and all of that, right? So we have 4 ways that we're going to invite you to be together on the learning, Math Together learning community. We can learn together. So if you follow that topic, that's where there are video clips and PDFs that you can download and little bite-sized chunks of professional development learning. Connecting together is about connecting subjects together. So math should not be in isolation. It's everywhere. I mean, it's all over our news these days, that's for sure. But we want to connect it to literature and science and art and music and movement and all of it. So we're going to be featuring ways every single month of how you can connect mathematics. The third thing is doing math together. So every single month there will be opportunities to do math together. So come together and problem solve and puzzle and share that joy of mathematics. So I've been talking a lot about math as a way to bring us joy and peace. So that's a place to do it. And then the heart of it is the sharing together. So that's the 4th topic, and that's where this community can come together. You can post, you can share your knowledge, you can support one another. And then the last thing I want to say is that we have figured out how to make this all available for CEUs. So we'll be able to certify your time spent in the way that you choose online here. So we are super excited. I hope if you're interested and if this sounds exciting, or if you have questions, if you would comment below. I'm going to stop the share. We're going to share a little bit more. We're going to launch June 1st, but there's one other opportunity to mention early on, is that there is an opportunity to be a founding member, and founding members will help us create this. Of course, there's always that component to the way this has been designed, but founding members will get 30% off the pricing for the lifetime that you're there. And so that opportunity is going to launch on June 1st. And so if you're interested in being a founding member or you want us to shoot out more to you, you can write founding member in those comments. And we will work with school districts if this is going to be something that's paid with purchase orders. But all of those details are to come. I just really wanted to give the sneak peek because we are like on fire, right, ladies? Like we were high-fiving online.
Yes.
We're so excited about an opportunity to make what's best for you, not what I think you should know, but what do you want to know? So hopefully we're modeling that in this forum. We could come on and just talk at you, but that's not really who we are or what we need right now. So that is the sneak peek. And go ahead. I think
that's me, right? Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next week, same time, same channel. We are going to have another Facebook Live, and we are thinking about talking about addressing issues of equity. A lot of the things that came up today are definitely going to be impacted by equity. And so we wanted to see if that might be a good topic. We also were thinking of talking about what the standards that we should focus on when school starts. And chances are all of these things will be talked about before school starts here in this forum. But if anybody has anything else that they think is timely, please put it in the comments on Facebook because we work on this agenda and this agenda is for you. So
all right,
please put it in the comments.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming. Remember, always be curious and always be kind.
Fine.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.